Okay, gents, next big topic, transfer news-wise. What is going on at Manchester United? A slow summer so far. I feel like this is a time warp. We could have been asking this of any of the last 4 summers. But Erik ten Hag's come in, but no new players have followed him yet. I can't work out if this is a good or a bad thing. If Man United, the lack of new players coming in means they are developing plans and they have a proper recruitment strategy now, or if it's just more of the same. I mean, United fans are very frustrated. We can see that when Nunez coming in at Liverpool for big money, Man City bringing in Erling Haaland, and then not much going on at Old Trafford. I mean, we saw Richard Arnold, the CEO, being filmed when he was having a few beers with some angry fans who were due to protest. He took them down the pub, had a pint. They did some secret filming of him, discussing, saying that we spent loads of money and the money's there, but we need to get a proper person and recruitment policy in place to spend this money wisely with Erik ten Hag and a managing director. I feel like we've been here so many times with Manchester United, but Andy, I'm going to start with you because it seems to me, at least, like a lot of players have put off going to United, whether or not it's one of the biggest clubs in the world, whether or not they've got one of the most talented up-and-coming managers in the world now. Because even Frankie de Jong, who's worked with Erik ten Hag closely, doesn't seem like he wants to go there. I mean, he's been asked, one of the biggest teams in the world wants you, and he said, I'm already at the biggest club in the world, Barcelona. Doesn't seem bothered about going there. And then you hear about Christian Eriksen maybe being a bit put off, Timber as well from Ajax, Louis van Gaal telling them not to go there. I mean, does anybody want to sign for Man United? And can you understand this kind of situation? And do you actually think it makes sense to take their time, or are they just doing the same old thing?
Yeah, other than they're going to pay a ton of money in wages, I don't know what the pull is to go to Manchester United right now because of the uncertainty with the squad, the manager, the system that they're going to play. What is the season going to look like? Can they be really competitive this season? They don't have Champions League to offer this season. It might be a pretty uphill climb to get into it for next season as well. So there's a lot of factors going against Manchester United right now, and it does feel like they almost need to take 2 or 3 giant steps back in terms of deconstructing what is some of the squad that they have now, trying to get as much value as they can for a number of players. I think Jesse Lingard would have been a perfect example of that over the last 6 or 12 or 18 or 24 months, that they just let his contract run down. He leaves for free, and he's going to go on and be probably a very productive player in the Premier League elsewhere, probably at West Ham, and they got absolutely nothing for him. So I think the business that's been done, whether incoming, whether outgoing, whether players' contracts stagnating and expiring, it has just been bad over the last number of years. And so I don't know what the pull for a player would be. And the one thing that you're saying there, as you're talking about the things that Richard Arnold was saying, my first thought was, oh, that's great. They understand where they've gone wrong in the past, and they are maybe trying to be accountable. And then I thought, well, this is Manchester United, so there's always one more layer of just mess that is involved. And the thought came to my head, what if it was a plant? What if that was scripted to be put out there for the good publicity of Manchester? At this point, probably not. But at this point, you can't completely write it off and say, oh, that's completely ridiculous. Manchester United would not do that, because it's just the way that the club has been run over a number of years. I think you could question absolutely anything that they do at Old Trafford.
I mean, they are putting some of the building blocks in place, right? John Murtaugh's coming in. Obviously, Fletcher's involved behind the scenes. And you have Erik ten Hag is asking for certain players. If the reports are true, he's asked specifically for Frankie de Jong and Christian Eriksen. Whether you think about those type of players and how they'd fit into this United squad already, when you have Bruno Fernandes around, I have no idea how those players are all going to fit into a functioning team. But it seems like they're trying to get those building blocks in place. So like you said, let's give them the benefit of the doubt for this summer with a new manager, another new manager. But it seems like more's changed behind the scenes now with Ed Woodward out and different people coming in and trying to get that structure in place. But Nick, I mean, Andy mentioned there's a lot of players that have left, Pogba, Lingard, many others, Matic, Mata. Contracts have come to an end. And Erik ten Hag hasn't actually had an opportunity, right, to see these players yet up close and personal and training. So he still has to decide on this. Even with those players leaving, there's still a huge squad there of mostly international players. So do you think he's just taking his time to see who can actually rely on before they make big moves? Or what do you think about that? And what do you think his priority should be in terms of signing players? Because there are some key areas where they really need to get a move on, right?
Oh, for sure. I think there's a little bit of a deconstruction going on, as you guys have mentioned, but I also believe, as I look at United and I look at the players that they have, there's enough there to get them through, if they can deconstruct the click part of it, right? Remember we heard about that last year, that was a big thing, that there were clicks in the room. Because I look at, they have a world-class goalkeeper in David De Gea. Rafael Varane is a fantastic center back who was not healthy for most of last year. If they can find something in Harry Maguire to work through, then you start to look further up the field and you think, well, Van de Beek is someone who is trusted by Ten Hag, and Bruno Fernandes, and Jadon Sancho is now in his second year back in England, and Marcus Rashford. So you start to see pieces here that can be absolutely functional together. And when we look at Manchester United, I'm not trying to be rosy here at all, but I really, really am not. What I'm thinking is they have to consider the PR aspect of absolutely everything. The first signing of Ten Hag, do they care about what order it is in? Amad Diallo are they looking at some guys that he's told them, this is my guy, and I'm really looking forward to this? I just don't have any idea how to judge them other than to know they're going to be very much judged. And I guess I'm just trying to guard against the hype, because they're not going to be terrific. They're coming out of the gate. Frankie de Jong, for the record, I do think would be almost perfect sort of building block to show these are the kind of players we are going to invest in. A possession-based player that we know fits our manager's system. But the microscope right now has to be brutal there.
Yeah, it does. And I think now that we understand that Erik ten Hag has clear philosophy, right? We know how they played at Ajax, interchanging midfielders, attackers, free-flowing football. With Eriksen and Frankie de Jong as the two main targets so far, you know that those are the kind of players that he's going to be recruiting. So then you look at the players that are there, right, Andy, and you look at Ronaldo. I mean, there's reports about him maybe going elsewhere. And it's like, are guys like that really going to adapt their entire career and the way they've always played to play a totally different style of football at this stage of their career? And is there enough in that squad to play the way that Ten Hag wants to play? Because I don't think there is. I think this is going to take, as we said, years, and there's going to be patience needed. And I don't think either the fans have it, probably the players there have it, and most of the people involved at Manchester United.
You're asking some really, really expensive questions right there, Joe. I mean, and they're all the right questions. It's all the right questions as well, because you have to consider these things. And I think as you were asking Nick the previous question, I was thinking, I think we're asking the wrong questions about how Man United and Ten Hag are operating. If he's expected to come in and then run the rule over all the players and decide whether before or during preseason, I feel like they've failed him already. I feel like there should be, whatever the transfer committee is, whatever the structure, whoever's on it, should have a lot of that stuff to present to him on day one. And he should be familiar with the squad as well. But it feels like everything is moving a little slow for Manchester United so far in the start under Ten Hag. They got they made the appointment before the season ended last season. We knew what was coming. And so we thought, okay, maybe they'll start a little bit quicker this summer. And they've just not. And as we're talking through all this, I'm thinking there's a lot of politics that goes on at Manchester United, isn't there? And it's just really messy. There's politics in the boardroom, there's politics with the manager, there's so many cliques and politics within the dressing room as well, and some of the we've named them already, some of the star veterans that are there, the young players trying to it's just it's a really bad situation at Manchester
Don't forget
United.
Sir Alex.
That's a lot to sort out, and that's one of the reasons why Ronaldo, you see him being linked away already, and it's just where's that coming from, and how would he how much of an impact would it just be easier to move on from him? That's a discussion for another day. And we've already kind of had that, right? And I think we all agree it probably would be better for Erik ten Hag to help bring in this new philosophy if he wasn't around.
Other than the fact that it's Manchester United and it is, the global brand that it is and the money that's attached to it, why would anyone want that job? Unless you truly deeply believe I am the one, me can fix that, and I will be the next Sir Alex. Why would anyone want the job?
So, the only thing working in Erik ten Hag's favor, I think, is that he doesn't really seem fazed by anything. I think he's quite, for lack of a better term, quite a boring kind of coach and a boring persona, at least from the outside. His players love him. His tactics are great. The way he works, he's methodical. He's look at his career, the way he's built it up. So I think he has that working in his favor. I don't think the outside noise and maybe even some of the inside noise is going to hurt him that much or distract him. So maybe that will help in sorting out these cliques, right, and getting everybody unified behind the scenes. And if you don't agree with his style of football or his decisions, then I've got the feeling he's pretty ruthless from what we've seen in the past. Yeah. So let's wait and see. But Nick, final point of Man United before we move on to some other transfer news.
Yeah, I think he has some hidden power here too, because I look at what Antonio Conte, obviously different managers, but what he was able to do is, this is a guy who, when he spoke up, fans listened, the media listened. When he said something about how the club was operating, people said, well, this guy's one on the outside and they've trusted him to come in and he's a big name, and they're not listening to him. I mean, yes, Ten Hag doesn't speak out a ton, but he is willing to. And if he were to come out at any point and be like, they're not giving me what I need, it's so more the same. Now, I think he realizes the value in not doing that as well. He has to help stabilize this club as well. But the power that he has right now is probably higher at a club that size than most people get while going into a club that size, because they've been so messy for so long.
Yeah, he's in a decent situation to have things turned around his way, but he's just got to bide his time. But I think there's been too much time wasted. As Andy mentioned, he came in early in the summer, left his job at Ajax early to get the ball rolling. We don't know what he's been doing behind the scenes. Maybe he already knows exactly the players he wants in and out, and they're just trying to figure it out. But clock's ticking, Manchester United.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.